I didn't realize when I got fired that I was already a butterfly, but I've been living like a caterpillar this entire time. So I know most of us have been sold that dream, go to college, get a job, climb ladders and stuff like that. I too have been sold it and lived it. I feel like a lot of promises around those types of lives that we were told that we'd live just haven't come true. And it's just made me, frustrated. At the same time, like, me having the jobs that I have had have always been like a means to an end. I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss and have my own company and just like live life on my own terms. But I sort of, used the whole regular job thing as my way out. Ended up turning into a bigger mental strain in my life than any financial benefit. And I also realized how much of the way I move through life that has, I guess, influenced. So in terms of like structure and getting up at a certain time and getting ready for work and when we were still going to the office, making sure that you leave the house on time to commute and all of that stuff. There are positives to it, positives that I've benefited from having that structure in my life. But at the same time, like, as much as I've had that structure in my life, I also complained about not having enough time to do things that I wanted to do, because, for example, like, let's say that my commute took 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at home. That's 4 hours out of my day that I could have been using to like figure out what sort of hobbies I liked, cook a meal for myself, work on the business that I wanted to create. And so for a really long time, I started to build resentment around having a job because I felt like I wasn't living my life for me. I was living my life for whoever the owner of the company was at that time. And so inevitably, that anger and resentment sort of became part of like my personality. I started to use that as excuses to not do things anymore. Well, how come you're not keeping up on your workouts? Well, I'm tired from my job. I hate my job, blah, blah, blah. Like all of those things, all of the reasons why I wasn't living my life on my own terms always came down to my job. And, no matter how many times I've left because I did job hop, it always came down to my job. And it really didn't matter what the job was because I would leave jobs around like every 2 years because I would hit this wall and things wouldn't improve and I would find more money elsewhere. So the job always changed, but the feelings always stayed. I'd be happy for a little bit and then all of a sudden I would just become depressed and angry and resentful. And I couldn't see any of it ever stopping. And so I kind of really didn't know what to do or how to get out of it. And, thankfully I was fired in July. I feel like, and that was the only time that I've ever been fired as well. I felt like everything that I experienced in that job that I got fired from was really just like an ick for me. Like, there are so many aspects around it that I'm like, I got this job for a very specific reason because this was supposed to be my last job. Like, I'm not supposed to go back to this life. And even now, like in the situation I'm in now, I think back to that experience and I'm just like, if I were to go and apply for another sales job again, it would be like nothing would change. I would still feel disgusting and disappointed and I can't go back to that life. But I also can't live my life the way I've been living as a corporate sales executive, as a creative professional. It doesn't work. That structure that I've had in that life, I have to find a way to bring it over into my new life as a creative professional and business owner, because the time that I had for myself, in ways, it's less like leisure time for myself now as a business owner than it was as an employee, because literally everything I do now has to be toward like my brand and like who I am and what I'm working toward. Not to say that I can't like entertain myself, but it's just so much more work that needs to be done to build a business than it is to be an employee. And so with this whole butterfly living like a caterpillar, I realized that like all of the excuses that I've had of like resenting my job and hating my job and not having enough time to do all of those things that I need to do, want to do, I don't have that excuse anymore. And I can't move in that way anymore, saying, well, I'm tired and I just like, I don't have the time and all this stuff. I need to make the time. I should have been making the time while I was employed, but I was comfortable. Now that I'm on my own, I really don't have the time and I can't afford to make any of these excuses anymore. But it's just like, it's a battle right now between like being productive and resting that I'm going through right now, because when you're on your own, you need structure. With me, I need to make sure that my morning routine is something that stays consistent and I don't deviate from it, because when I deviate from my morning routine, I start to feel bad about myself and then I don't really get anything done. I keep thinking about, well, I didn't wake up on time, I didn't do my stretching, I didn't do my yoga, I didn't meditate. The list goes on and on. If I didn't, so I don't. And then the day is wasted. And it's more, I feel like on your own, protecting your time is probably the most important thing that you can do for yourself to make sure that everything else gets done. You know, no one ever talks about, you know, what happens when you're actually free to live life on your own time, on your own terms. I didn't know what to do with myself. You know, I didn't have any structure because in the beginning, I tried to wake up in the mornings, but I wasn't being productive with my time. So I was like, you know, I'll just wake up whenever. And I didn't really have a plan of action. I mean, you don't have a plan, nothing gets done, and then you feel like nothing is getting done. And that sucks. But at the same time, when you have all of this freedom, at least with me, I sort of became paralyzed because I didn't really have a plan. Like I had all these ideas, but I didn't actually have like an action plan, like something for me to check off and feel like I'm moving forward. And writing lists at that time, putting things on my calendar at that time, they weren't really helping me because I would put them there, but then I wouldn't follow through on them. And I wasn't following through on them because I wasn't taking care of myself first. And I feel like this has been like the struggle that I've been dealing with for these past 6 months, really. With all the things that I've been trying to do and build, I just haven't really had a true structure and form, and I'm still figuring that out. I'm definitely in a much better place now, but no one ever talks about this. You know, it's hard. It's hard being out on your own and not, you know, knowing really how to move throughout your day. I genuinely do feel like an imposter. Like I say that I'm a founder and all this stuff, but am I really? Like, yeah, I have an LLC. It's easier to buy an LLC, but like, what am I actually doing? I'm still building like a lot of things all at once. I'm trying to be a graphic designer. I'm trying to make jewelry. I have like my own Etsy shop now. I'm trying to create content. I was trying to teach yoga. I don't even know if I want to do that anymore. It's just like, what am I doing? A lot, too much maybe. I don't know. But will I go back? No, I don't want to. If I can avoid going back to doing sales again, I will. Going back to having like an actual 9-to-5 job, I'm not opposed to, as long as it's something that I'm actually interested in. So it would be like graphic design or something like that. I'm not against that, but it's still a mindset shift. But what I'm learning is a mindset shift from what I have to do versus what I choose to do. Because that's really what this has all been about this whole time. Living my life based on what it is that I actually care about and what I want to do versus what I have to do to make sure that bills are paid. And so now that I am in this position, that old mindset that I've had, it's hard to let it go. It's hard to break free from that again. Like, I've had these butterfly wings since before I've been fired, but I'm not using them. I broke out of the cocoon back in July, but I don't know how to fly. Being a caterpillar my whole life, fattening myself up on the ease of having a comfortable job and then getting into that cocoon and completely dissolving and becoming uncomfortable and just finally breaking out of it. But once you break out of it, you're not a caterpillar anymore. I have wings now. I need to learn how to fly, but I don't have any other butterflies around to teach me, and I can't continue to live my life as a caterpillar because I'm not a caterpillar anymore. And so, it's been difficult, to be completely frank. Just having essentially unlimited options every day and figuring out what to actually work on is my biggest struggle. It's my biggest struggle because for so long, like, I've always been told what to do. I've always had a job. I've always been an employee, and so you have responsibilities. It's all written out there for you to do. This is what's on your calendar for today. This is what needs to be done. Do it. Here's your money. Now it's like, how many things am I trying to build right now? What do I focus on? What needs my attention? I need to also prioritize my own health at the same time too. It doesn't stop. It's just a different beast that I've never had to learn how to work with. And now here I am, like, thrust into it, feeling behind, feeling like I'm lazy, feeling like I'm not doing enough. But it's all such an adjustment, only being really, to be honest, yeah, I was fired in July, but I didn't really have that mindset shift. It didn't click. It's sort of been gradual, and I want to say, like, December toward the end of the year, like, I sort of hit another little lull, and I was like, maybe I'm doing too much. I'm being lazy, I'm failing, but it's really just, it's more than that. I'm not being lazy, I'm not failing, it's just, I'm shifting my mindset, I'm shifting the way I operate in the world in a way that I've never done before, in a way that I've never seen anyone else do. I don't have any examples, I don't have any friends or family that I can look to and ask questions around how they made the change. I don't have anyone in my life that I can sit down and, like, talk to about any of these things. I'm figuring all this stuff out on my own, and so I do have to remind myself to be a little bit more patient, and allow myself some grace, but at the same time, not too much grace, because then nothing will get done. I'll keep making excuses for myself. But if I took anything away from this experience right now, it's, at least for me, if I don't prioritize my morning routine, everything goes basically down the toilet for the rest of the day. I sort of just use that as an excuse to not do anything else because I already felt like I failed the day. And so something that I've been working on to keep my morning routine consistent is I have basically, like, a list of things that I want to get done every morning. Obviously, like, personal hygiene and things like that, but, like, my meditation and my yoga are, like, the main things that sort of dictate how I feel about the day, and also, like, the time that I wake up as well. And so, like, we're all human and nobody's perfect, and sometimes I don't want to do any of those things. So I've learned to sort of make it more of like a dial instead of an all or nothing situation. So if I don't have the full 30 minutes of meditation in me, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, just sit in silence for 2 minutes, whatever you have. Same thing with the yoga in the morning. Sometimes I really don't feel like getting on the mat, but if I just stretch, move my body, something, at least I make the effort to do it, I still feel like I've accomplished the day. And that sort of snowballs into more and more things that I get to accomplish throughout the day, if my foundation is set for that day. So this is something that I've learned to be more strict with myself and is considered like a non-negotiable, and it is helping me to feel better about myself and feel less and less like an imposter, and I do feel more and more productive throughout the day because I felt like I've won my morning. So that's where I'm at right now. This is still an adjustment. I am still learning. I am so far from where I actually want to be, but I'm in a much better place than I was a couple of months ago. And I do see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if anyone else out there is in a similar situation to I am, would love to hear how you're working through it, because this isn't easy. And I feel like if we could all help each other, that will only make things so much more simpler and easier and fun too. So yeah, thanks for watching, and hope to see you again in the next one.